Good morning and welcome to another episode of Light of Grace. This is Prophet Solomon. Remember, we've been talking about not being ashamed of Christ, not being ashamed of the gospel. I've been reading from Romans chapter 1, verse 16. That part says, I'm not ashamed of the gospel of Christ, for it is the power of God to salvation to everyone who believes. And it says, for therein is the righteousness of God revealed from faith to faith, as it is written, the just shall live by faith. Like I said, in the days of Paul, he had many reasons to be ashamed of the gospel. Why? Because then the gospel was not a message which was popular in the sense that many people had not accepted it. Many people continued to reject it. Even Jesus Christ, his own Jews rejected him, and many of them rejected the gospel. So you see, it wasn't a so-called popular message, right? And many people rejected it, and they were persecuted. The Christians were tormented. The Christians were ostracized. They were given all sort of names. But you see, Paul said, you know what? It doesn't matter what the world says. It doesn't matter the accusations. It doesn't matter the insults and the persecutions they have my way. I refuse to be ashamed of the gospel. And as Christians, we must also refuse to be ashamed of Christ, not his gospel. Let me give you practical ways in which we are put in situations where we are tempted to be ashamed of the gospel. Picture it, right? These days, how do women dress? Sometimes you look at how some women are dressed and you wonder, then what is the point in wearing clothes at all, right? Because then they are dressed, but then they are naked. And it is very popular these days. It is all across. It is all across. Everywhere you find yourself. It is everywhere. But then you see, is it right? No. But you see, as Christians, many Christian women are tempted to dress like these ladies of the world. To dress in a manner which exposes your body, to dress in a manner which is going to be alluring to men. Forgetting that, you know what the scripture tells us that, do you not know that your body is the temple of God, and which body we must honor, and which body we must treat with sacredness, because it is the temple of God. Pressure to be ashamed of the gospel. People go about, sometimes when I go to social media and then I see the kind of things people are talking about or the kind of opinions people have, man, I tell you, I can't help but just get heartbroken. It's funny, right? How you look at these days, especially the Bible tells us marriage is honorable in all and the bed undefiled. And you look at it and realize that, you know what? People actually have no problem, absolutely no problem with premarital sex, even parading it on social media, parading it in the streets. People are not even shy, man. They are not shy. They want to talk about it everywhere. People want to talk about their sex exploits and all of that. There's a sin that people are parading everywhere. They are not ashamed. They are not ashamed. And you see, the funny thing is, you see, because the vast majority of people still reject Christ, and these people don't know the Lord. Imagine a Christian who wants to be popular among these circles on social media. You'll be tempted to cave in. Because if you don't fit in, then you can't roll with them. And many Christians are influenced by the things they see on social media, which is sad. They see ladies who, some of them have mentors, women, men who are non-Christians, and then they just following them. Pressure everywhere. But then you see, we must remember who we are as Christians. Do you know why we call the early disciples Christians? Because they realized that, these people were followers of Christ. They saw that these people acted like Christ. They behaved like Christ. They lived like Christ. And they call them Christians. And you see, as followers of Christ, we shouldn't allow the patterns of the world to determine how we live. Because you see, the Bible tells us that the world is in darkness, but we are light. And because we are light, we shouldn't walk in darkness. We should walk in the light. We shouldn't be ashamed of Christ. We shouldn't be ashamed to say, as a young Christian guy, a young Christian lady, you are going to keep yourself for Christ, and that you're not going to just go about having illicit sex, but you're going to treat it with sacredness, the sacredness which is reserved for it in marriage. You shouldn't be ashamed to say that, as a Christian, it doesn't matter wherever you find yourself. You'll be a person of truthfulness and a person of integrity, a person who is honest, even when all others around you are cruel. And even when you find yourself in a system where people want to point fingers at you as a Christian, you shouldn't be ashamed to stand for Christ. You shouldn't be ashamed to stand out and let your light shine. We'll continue on this episode. Have a blessed day. Shalom.